Hello and welcome back. Namaskar. This is Tilak Dutta, and I would like to continue from where we left in the last session, where I made out two options about what could have been the case with Bhagwanji's inner existence, at what level he operated, what could be the possibilities. So we'll work on that now. I found some incongruities, contradictions in the two options which I drew up for you in the last time. First, there I felt is a sharp contrast in the spoken language, which is transcribed in the book Oi Mahavanavashe. In many pages of this book, for example, there are so many, but I'll just take a few. In much of page 279, you will read Bhagwanji saying, they want to, he's talking about the 1971 and post events in Bangladesh. So he said, or before that, they want to chahte independent Muslim Bengal. That means they want to taste having their own independence in Muslim Bengal. So this was one, and lots more going before and after that. Page 201 bottom, page 225, he says, Amar, that is mine, Amar more than half a dozen akebare toiri, with the same identically functionally equal with me. I'll repeat that, the last part. With the same identically functionally equal with me. Page 339. The entire section which refers to Mao Zedong or Tungabhadra on page 379 to 392 approximately, from what I can remember. Page 419 onwards. In fact, right through the book, quite a few sections. I mean, there is grammatical mistake. The manner of speaking is completely alien. This is as opposed to wonderful prose, which you will find in many other sections of the book. This is complicated by the fact that I believe there is a paucity of material available about how Subhash Chandra Bose would speak in casual sessions with his friends before he left India, which could have been quite different from the many public statements or formal speeches which he made. Despite this, the kind of loose expressions attributed to Bhagwanji, which have been transcribed by his followers, are not exactly palatable, I think, given the rest of the sober prose, which form the bulk of the talks. Also, for those who have read on this, the books by Huge Toy, I hope I got the pronunciation wrong, right, or Rudolf Hertog, both the books, they made a study of Subhash Bose, and it was a person whose face betrayed very little, who spoke little, who was dignified, and who was cool as a cucumber, as they call it. Not this, and the person whom you see speaking at times, as noted in Oi Mahavanavashe, seems to be very different from this, even if he was speaking his heart out. It's the language. There's a lot of, I feel there were a lot of contradictions there. So my question is, who was speaking in this manner all the time? The next, there are quite a few examples when he is portrayed of having boasted of his powers. I'm afraid there is no other word that can be used other than boast. Examples, he says, I will use the power of Thor. I have split USSR into whatever, two parts. I will rouse Saturn. I will do this and I will do that. There are many examples. One can go through this. Those who have read, they will know. To my mind, in no stream of Adhyatmic practice, let alone Tantra or Raj Yoga, is such boasting encouraged. In fact, as a rule, such boasting which mentions I as the doer is taken as completely counterproductive to the spiritual quest. This is incongruity number 2. And this is all the more so because the same saint is repeatedly quoted as having said that he is only to be remembered as a fleck oblique as a dust particle of Bengal, who is only a mortal coil, carrying out a grand design by the Supreme Mother Durga Kali, or that energy force. This is someone who wants his last remains to be put on an unknown street or path which is trodden by ordinary people who don't know that they are walking over this. He doesn't want to be remembered. Completely different kind of a thing. Incongruity number 3, and this is a major one. Ascetics at that level have total precognitive, clairvoyant abilities. Several followers have testified that when they sat across the curtain, Bhagwanji could read them like an open book or describe events in the future or in the now with unbelievable accuracy. And yet, when Samar Guha was apparently trapped into showing a fudged photo as Subhash Bose, and that was the end of his career, the saint never warned him beforehand. Please note that. Not only that, he cut off from all his followers, all, and he shifted to an address unknown to them. Why? Only for security reasons? Why would such an elevated soul punish all for the mistake of a single person, even though Samar Guha had given his entire life for this cause? So my question again is, who was the entity who cut off Samar Guha? Please note that Samar Guha was never readmitted to the fold. He was never forgiven. Keep this point in mind. Also, Bhagwanji was purportedly putting spies from one group of followers to check on the behavior of other followers. I would like to ask why. Why would a spiritual adept want to know the truth this way when they can see? So, who was doing this? Next, let's talk about Dr. T.C. Banerjee. The narrative we have read is that in 1975, right after he visited Bhagwanji for the first time and saw him directly, he came home and he announced that he had seen Subhash Bose. Yes? Now, the saint would know of this even before Dr. Banerjee would have even uttered these words. In fact, as soon as the thought first manifested in his mind, or even earlier actually, immediately after having met him, because they can even see future possibilities which have not even formed in your mind. But please note, Dr. Banerjee was not banished nor scolded. A man like Bhagwanji, who was so strict and paranoid about his undercover life, would disregard this? If the answer is yes, but he didn't know, then the first contradiction kicks in immediately, that the person in question had no precognitive powers. So, who was this person? The one and only Bhagwanji? Who was the person whom Dr. Banerjee examined? Bhagwanji or a decoy? Next, Mrs. Rita Banerjee was very gracious in having given me time in answering my questions in 2012 and even later on a couple of occasions on the phone and over WhatsApp. She said that over 2 years between 1980 to 1983, Bhagwanji turned her husband and her, both of them, the couple, away and made them outcasts. He wouldn't allow them to come. Why? She said that Dr. Mishra and his family had made Bhagwanji falsely believe that the Banerjees had been spreading rumors that this was Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in hiding. So he became furious and he forbade them to come. In fact, they never even knew, she told me they never even knew that he had been shifted to Ram Bhavan in 1983. It was only after her father-in-law, Dr. T.C. Banerjee, died that Bhagwanji relented and allowed them back into the fold. Chandrachud Ghosh too has the same version of this story with him. So, once again, if Bhagwanji was the saint with these immense powers, he would surely know that the Banerjees were innocent and were being falsely implicated. Or indeed, they had gossiped and he threw them out. But wait, if that were the case, how were they allowed to visit him again? Samar Guha, a man who fought for this cause for so long, was never forgiven for a lapse, and the Banerjees were allowed back. So my question is, who was influenced by the Mishra family? Who issued the orders to bar the Banerjee family and who allowed them back? Was the preeminent power gone and this was someone who was prone to rumors and gossip? None of these actions can be seen even remotely to be those of a highest adept, especially the acts we increasingly see after 1975. Rather, these seem to be that of a tired old man like any other we see around us. Yes? Was this Bhagwanji at all times or his self-created double? At the point of writing my book, right from the outset after checking my notes, I had repeated flashes that perhaps there were multiple entities involved in this whole saga, on this whole drama. From the point when Bhagwanji chose to go behind the curtain. He is himself quoted to have said that there were others exactly like him. So when Bhagwanji said, "Please believe me that I am a disembodied entity and I have been kept alive due to a mission set out by the Divine Mother." Initially, I thought this could be only an emotional outburst by a saddened Subhash Chandra Bose or Bhagwanji. But now, this dimension of multiple selves, or doubles, multiple selves, I'm sorry, or doubles, it's grown more and more on my awareness. So we come to the question of death and Tantra and Bhagwanji. Bhagwanji had, by all accounts, he claimed that he had undertaken advanced practices of Tibetan Tantra. I have already referred to this in my previous lectures of how the famous Tibetan master Domo Geshe Rinpoche left his mortal coil. So he passed away in 1936, but his body remained upright and without decay for months till entombment and burial. Because it's said that the body of such a master is saturated with such psychic forces, and these are believed to exercise a beneficial impact on the surroundings, which is why a burial is done. The same thing was done with Sri Aurobindo. The same thing in Pasikavin's Samadhi happened with Paramahansa Yogananda. Now, all these masters, they knew beforehand of their impending departure and welcomed the same. They left in Samadhi with the body in an upright position. Their bodies took weeks to disintegrate. These are testified facts. So, who died in Ram Bhavan on 16th September 1985? Who was cremated after the body disintegrated so fast? No, I am not making out a case at all that Bhagwanji took a flight to Ganganj. Not at all. We will deal with this later. In fact, conceivably please, Bhagwanji could very well have shed his body willingly much earlier, and his double continued till a natural death undertook him too. There is a clear hint in Oi Mahavanavashe on page 133 that Bhagwanji wanted to drop his body because it was too worn out to live till or beyond 121 years. This is my interpretation. He gave the hint then and there itself. So now I come to the question of, or the subject of double, decoy, dummy, whatever you call it. What it can mean in this case? Who was behind the curtain at all times? Now normally a dummy or a decoy provides a cover for the actual person when he or she makes a public appearance because of identical looks. The double doesn't speak publicly because that would give away the duplicity, right? Now in this case, consider what is unique. Bhagwanji is not seen normally, so the double actually, or the decoy, has to sound like him. I can't emphasize this more. Secondly, in the rare case that Bhagwanji's cover is blown and he is suddenly seen, in the rare case, I don't think so, but in the rare case, the double or the decoy also has to look exactly like the original. This means that in the rarest of rare occasions, for instance, if a physician has to examine the double, he would need to show a scar where Subhash Chandra Bose's gallbladder had been removed. If Habibur Rahman could burn his hands for his leader, producing a scar on the abdomen is very much possible. The parting on the front teeth also has to be there. Third, if the doubles have to attend to letters or to correspondence over a protracted period because the original Bhagwanji is attending to some annual task somewhere else, the handwriting too has to match consistently over a long period. Lastly, the opinion, thoughts and expressions of the double or decoys too need to match the original very closely, or else there would certainly be cause for suspicions. For example, if the original Bhagwanji loved certain kinds of food, or he spoke of spiritual practices in specific terms, then the dummy could not be heard to offer a different opinion or even radically different words about the same. Please think this through carefully, considering the fact that the man himself said that he had 5 others covering him. I hope Bhagwanji's followers will not be upset and deny this possibility now and say, we are sure it was him behind the curtain whom we have heard. To my mind, that would be downsizing the enormity of Bhagwanji's Maya. his choice of double or doubles, because the cover would normally be so perfect that no one could crack it. If Subhash Chandra Bose's record, you see it earlier, how he eluded so many forces with his perfectionist subterfuge. Uh, that's all for today. I will continue on this subject next time. Namaskar. Take care. Bye bye.